Episode 107, Wanted, Catholic Writer for a Good Works Book So Far Never Written. Perhaps someone listening or viewing this podcast episode is a writer or a wannabe writer. Consider this as a potential book for you to write. This episode reflects my lifelong Catholic faith. I am an active Roman Catholic and have served in many volunteer positions in the diocese and parish settings. I am observant and traditional, but I am also a sinner. In searching my computer for historical details for one of my episodes, I found my 2010 heavily researched and thought out new book idea that was supposed to be presented to major book publishers. Phil Lawler, a friend who has written many major publisher faith-oriented books, must have advised me on this book publishing effort. I wanted to get this book to the mass market through big-time publishers. My previous books were all self-published except one, which is available on Amazon. Phil's advice was to put together a professional pitch, including an outline of the book, a sample forward, and a letter to the major publishers with why they should buy my book. So I did all that, but then never plugged the book to those publishers, and I don't remember why I didn't. As I said, I have previously written 3 books and therefore knew that I was able to discipline myself to do another one. So about 15 years ago, the book I considered writing was Roman Catholic and faith-oriented. There was then and is now big problems in the Roman Catholic Church in America. Among other things, it is losing members wholesale. I am probably not the normal type writer for this kind of religious book. I am a weak, sinful, but believing Catholic. I thought I had an idea to help staunch that bleeding out of members. My idea was to use older Catholics, who are now living a lot longer than previous generations, to work on reviving the church with good works. Since I am one of those superannuated Catholics, I am aware that many of my fellow older citizens seem to spend lots of time on more frivolous things. We seasoned citizens, Romans and otherwise, are retiring at 65 and up, and we have many years of useful life left. My thinking was, why shouldn't there be a faith-based program to put those older RC folks to work, helping both the church and their own local neighbors? This book, if published, would offer older American Roman Catholics an opportunity to do big things by volunteering for Christ, their church, and their nation. The book would have suggested some current national problems and how older Catholics could help to provide solutions. It would have listed the problems by chapter and with suggested remedial efforts. There are 4 situations that only affect the church and 2 situations that affect the whole nation. The introduction would have explained why it is the duty of me and my older Catholic peers to take on these major challenges and why we should get off our duffs and get to work. There would be leadership and foot soldier suggestions for older American potential volunteers. Suggested Chapter 1, Real Evangelization. American Catholic parishes are closing down or being merged because of demographics, a lack of members, and or short financial support. Real evangelization efforts are needed, not feel-good, windy advisories. The book suggests how American retirees with business-like plans could actively evangelize in their local parishes for fallen-away Catholics, the unchurched, and even the Protestants who change churches regularly. More new parishioners could mean more financial support, more seats filled at Mass, and less church closings. There would be different levels of volunteers suggested in these evangelization programs. Suggested Chapter 2, Helping Catholic Schools. In many areas, Catholic schools are shutting down. There are many reasons, including how to attract good, faith-filled teachers and tuition increases that limit those who could attend to only the financially able. The book would suggest to the older American audience some methods to promote their favorite Catholic school in the local media, online, and in their neighborhood. Also suggested would have been big fundraising and scholarship programs for the reader's specific school. Also to be spelled out were recruiting methods to get the best students, as charter schools do. An enthusiasm injection would be needed to be inserted into the body scholastic for many of the Catholic schools also. Older Americans could be leaders, speakers, fundraisers, and boosters in these efforts. Suggested Chapter 3, Fixing CCD. This book would have spelled out the hidden disaster of inept and often heretical teaching of our kids at our local churches' Christian doctrine or CCD programs. This is one of those things that is almost never discussed from the altar by priests in parishes or dioceses, like other almost forbidden subjects like divorce, abortion, and birth control. Many Americans older have grandchildren whose immortal souls are endangered by this neglect. Using untrained and non-faithful lay teachers contributes to the loss of our Catholic youth to secularism or to the Protestant sects. The book would have prescribed a whole new system for formation of the children in the Catholic faith. The prescription would need a cadre of doers, hopefully older doers. Suggested Chapter number 4, Stopping Abortion. Older Catholics must make known to the public that abortion facilities in their neighborhoods kill their neighbors' older unborn babies and hurt their local mothers. The book would have suggested action that older folks could do that would actually save babies and change mothers' minds. Some of these actions would be frontline and some would be less confrontational, thereby giving opportunities to leader types and follower types of Catholic seniors. Suggested Chapter number 5, Helping Single Mothers and Their Children. Surveys of American children consistently show that kids without fathers and or kids from broken families are much more likely to drop out of school, take drugs, and get into trouble with police and earn less lifetime income than kids in intact families. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, there were 10 million single mothers in the USA. That adds up to at least 10 million kids without fathers and likely more than that. That particular RC Senior Task Force should be heavily loaded with female volunteers and would be tasked to take on this job of helping single mothers and mentoring their children in an organized way. There would be many levels of volunteering in that category. Suggested Chapter number 6, Fighting Prostitution. Helping prostitutes out of bondage is a massive challenge for anyone. This book would have suggested some ideas to actively go out into the city streets and aid women and men who are selling their bodies for cash and drugs in your neighborhoods. The book would have suggested that these efforts would be done by pairs of non-naive older women rather than older men. Hardened prostitutes are very savvy, but also very needy. The book would have suggested that the readers ally with proven national programs, but in the seniors' local neighborhoods. Suggested Chapter number 7, Recruiting Priests. There is a shortage of priests in America. There is much talk and much written about recruitment of men to join the priesthood. Much talk, but spotty success. The book would have suggested some business-like methods for our Catholic golden ages to reach young and not-so-young men who may be persuaded to consider the priesthood. These methods would be used in the neighborhoods of our older readers. Even if this book is never written, those needs are still there. Individual volunteers, or perhaps a men's or women's existing group, could take up the challenges. And if there is an interested writer for this, so far never written book, contact me. If this episode sparks something for you, head to the show notes and make a donation. Buy Me a Coffee is an app that allows consumers of podcasts, YouTubes, etc., who appreciate a creator's podcast to donate. That would keep my mic and camera on and my stories flowing rather than suggest a donation amount. Please judge what value you get from this and other episodes and join my supporters. Make your donation to buymeacoffee.com/degreasings is spelled DEGREASINGS. Buymeacoffee.com/degreasings. Thank you. This is Rod Murphy. Thank you for viewing or listening to my podcast episodes. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, and if you so choose, I ask you to send a good review and or refer a friend who might be interested in this Old Boston podcast series. Again, my thanks.